I want to make this mini-series for people who value intelligence and deeper thought. There are secrets to numbers that most people seem unaware of. Things that no matter how much I research, don't seem to be found in books or on the internet. You may have heard Nikola Tesla's famous quote about 369.
If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe.
But no matter where I look, it seems like no one has ever really broken down the secret meanings behind what he said. There are videos where people talk about the math, but not really the meaning, which makes me believe that there are things that only a few people on the planet even think about. And it makes me wonder what would happen if everyone knew the deeper meanings behind numbers and how they can be used. My friends and family tell me that I should share my knowledge and perspectives of the world before I die, and so I finally decided to start this series. I want to share my knowledge of numbers and show how they interact with human consciousness. We are governed by numbers. They affect us at work and they affect our relationships. I want to show you how you can use numbers to read thought and to predict future events. You can even use numbers to detect lies. There is quite a bit to discuss regarding numbers, so this is just part 1 of the discussion. In part 1, I need to get you familiar with the topic, but in part 2, we are going to explore numbers on a deeper, more metaphysical level. In Hunter x Hunter, there is a highly intelligent and analytical character named Miriam. In order to beat his opponent, he attempts to analyze attack patterns. He believes that everyone has a subconscious bias for and against certain things.
These are no more than puppet hands. They can only move in set patterns. If I attack from an angle that he can't block with a move that he's already used, he'll have no choice but to reveal a new move. However, while he may have a finite number of attack patterns, the number of combinations in which they can be used may as well be infinite. But each individual has a distinct rhythm. There will be a subconscious predilection for and against certain patterns, and that bias naturally shapes one's identity.
We saw the same thing in Avengers when Tony Stark fought Captain America.
You can't beat him hand to hand.
Analyze his fight pattern.
Scanning. Countermeasures ready.
We also saw it in the movie Focus, where Will Smith anticipates the numbers a person will choose based on subconscious programming.
How did you know who he was gonna pick?
We told him to. We've been telling him all day.
From the moment he left his hotel room, we've been priming him, programming his subconscious. He's been seeing the number 55 all day long.
If you watch the video I posted about my golden retriever, then you will know my backstory regarding pattern recognition and hyperanalysis. There are conditions such as autism and dyslexia, and then there is me. I was born with a mind that hyperfixates on abstract and abnormal patterns, one of those being arbitrary numbers. Arbitrary numbers are any given number that is not necessarily derived from scientific measurements or calculations. They are numbers that just feel good and sound good to the human mind. Let me show you how to detect these numbers when people use them in conversation and show what they really mean. And at the end of this video, I have a really funny 10-minute compilation to show how these numbers are used in your favorite shows, songs, and movies. If you have ever seen the movie Bardock, there is a scene where Goku's dad was cursed with psychic powers by an alien called a Kanassin.
Wait. You have come here seeking psychic power. Well, I have given it to you, Bardock.
He reads minds.
You can too now, Bardock. You have the power now too.
Me? What are you talking about?
I have given it to you as a gift, Bardock, so that you could see.
See what?
See the horror of your end, just like we had to.
I am not a Kanassin, but I will show you some things in this video that may change your outlook on life. There are certain patterns in life that once seen can never be unseen. Let me provide an example of common arbitrary numbers and how our human mind is subconsciously governed by 3s and 10s. And then I will show you the compilation. Have you ever noticed that when you ask someone how much longer before they arrive, they usually say things like 10 minutes or I'll be there in 30. At work, employers and executives like to use arbitrary numbers like, we need you to complete 10 jobs per day. Or they tell you that you can only be late 3 times before a write-up. If you ask someone how long they want to live, we say, do you think you'll live to be 100? We don't say, do you think you will live to be 102? How much would you pay me in US currency for this large bag of chips? We can expect to hear something like $10. Is it that the bag of chips is actually worth $10? Or is it the most efficient number we can imagine? Okay, and what about when your friends ask to borrow money? If your friend is tight on money, they will usually ask to borrow arbitrary amounts like, let me get 50, bro. Or let me get 100, bro. If you are old enough, you can remember the fast food dollar menu, which was later changed to the value menu. Feeling like something is just $1 has a magical effect on the mind. A fast food chain could easily say $1.11 to gain 11% additional profit, but it just doesn't have the same psychological effect. Or if you remember the Subway commercial, yes, companies use arbitrary numbers to manipulate people all the time. If you are a gamer, you are familiar with patch notes. Game developers will say things like this: this weapon's damage has been increased by 10%, or this character's speed is decreased by 20%. If you see something like this, then you need to uninstall that game because the game developers really don't care about you. They're just saying what they feel. They are not actually testing the game to see what works. World of Warcraft is notorious for being unbalanced, and this is why. Look at these patch notes. It says Death Knight damage increased by 30%. Balanced Druid damage increased by 10%. The proof is in the numbers. Arbitrary numbers are proof that the game will never be properly balanced. Those numbers should read something like 23.8% and 7.2%. Numbers can even affect romantic relationships. What about the arbitrary 3-month rule given by women? One time I dated a girl in college that told me she had a 3-month rule. I said to her, why 3 months? And she told me that she only felt comfortable after 3 months of meeting someone. Nowadays, I understand not to be overly technical and logical with women you date, but back then I was ignorant. So I said, what determines we are good to go after 3 months of knowing each other? She told me because we would have known each other for 3 months. I said, what if you meet a guy and only go on 2 dates in those 3 months? Or you meet a guy but talk to him long distance? What if me and you spend about 80 hours together in 1 week? Would I still have to wait 3 months? This conversation did not go well, and of course it wouldn't. It's not like she was going to say, okay, we're good as long as you spend 352 hours with me within 24 feet. And she accused me of just trying to get in her pants, which I was, but that is neither here nor there. The point is that so much of life is arbitrary. It is much easier to say 3 months or to ask a friend for $100 instead of 73. But the problems come into play when we rely on arbitrary numbers long term, or when we fail to realize someone is giving us an arbitrary number. Someone who gives an arbitrary number is most likely lying to you. Like if you ask someone their body count, they will usually say 10. Here is an example of what I consider to be non-arbitrary numerology from both the show Invincible and Floyd Mayweather.
I was going through the deck of cards. I started doing 436 push-ups a day. Then I went from 436 to 872. Then I went to 1308. So I was doing 1300 push-ups a day.
How many push-ups can you do in one round?
Well, the most I ever done was probably when I got out, I done 141. But just regular, it's 100.
A regular is 100.
Yes.
But 141's the limit.
Wow.
That's what I've done. Straight 141.
When you ask someone on the spot to give you their numbers and they effortlessly tell you numbers like 146 and 183, they are far more likely to be legit. Even in fiction, when someone gives non-arbitrary numbers like the numbers given for Mark's power increase in season 3, it shows well thought out and creative writing.
Over the last 90 days, Mark's speed has increased 65%, his endurance 70%, and his strength 138%.
Fuck me! Way to make a fellow superhero feel inadequate.
You see, arbitrary numbers are quick but not efficient. If we never actually test to discover what is most efficient, then as a species, we can never optimize our society. We have to take the time to perform proper measurements and testing so that we know exactly how much we should pay for something or how much the company needs to charge to gain profit. I have been in multiple company meetings where the executives just throw out nonsense like, we need to up efficiency by 50%. They want to sound smart by throwing out percentages, but they don't have the science to back the request. Okay, so I have compiled a 10-minute list of arbitrary numbers spoken across media for you to see, and I hope you enjoy. As I mentioned, you will notice that the human mind is fixated on 3s and 10s, but you will also notice that numbers centered around 5 are also popular, as well as 40,000. And before we begin, please make sure I get 10,000 likes, and please share this video with a friend so they can also be cursed. And also stay tuned for part 2.
The history of the royal family of Hyrule is also the history of Calamity Ganon, a primal evil that has endured over the ages. So listen closely as I tell you of this legend that occurred 10,000 years ago.
Imprisoned for 10,000 years. He vowed to perform 10,000 punches in gratitude a day.
1,000 blades, taken from the hands of Aegon's fallen enemies, forged in the fiery breath of Balerion the Dread.
There aren't 1,000 blades. It's the only weapon in Kakashi's arsenal he didn't copy from someone else. Huh? It is this sound that gives the technique its name. Chidori! 1,000 birds.
It's the gravity. 10 times stronger than Earth.
Maybe if this was 500 times gravity, you might have an advantage.
Originally, Vegeta says 500, but couldn't resist saying 1,000 in the remake.
I'm at home here in the 10 times gravity.
If it were 1,000 times gravity, you might have actually slowed me down, but a paltry 10?
1,000 years ago, superstition and the sword ruled. It was a time of darkness. It was a world of fear. It was the age of gargoyles.
You live to catch Pokemon, but 150 aren't enough. Get ready for the next step. On October 15th, Pokemon Gold and Silver will arrive. You can reserve each copy for $5 and receive this CD-ROM.
Dang, how long were you in that iceberg? I don't know, a few days maybe? I think it was more like 100 years. What? That's impossible.
3 days. In 3 days, I shall make this boy stronger than you.
This pastor tried to scam and threaten everyone during a sermon. He told his ushers to lock the doors until they reached the donation goal of $40,000.
I said close them doors. Close the doors. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. But
how many ships will I need to bring my colours out to Westeros?
Dothraki and all their horses, the Unsullied, the Second Sons. 1,000 ships.
The secret to his amazing power? You mean he's going to tell us right now?
First, what's important?
100 sit-ups! 100 push-ups! Then a 10-kilometer run! And 100 squats!
I used up all my chakra on that shadow possession jutsu. I'm good for about another 10 seconds. And here I'd already planned out the next 200 moves in my head.
Knowing full well what merciless horrors they suffered at the swords and spears of 300. Yet they stare now, across the plain, at 10,000 Spartans, commanding 30,000 free Greeks.
Kill him, Rob. Send his head to his father. He cut down 10 of our men.
And that is the sin of pride.
One strike. That's all it took. A human like this didn't exist 3,000 years ago.
If the 100-type Guan Yin Bodhisattva could do next to no damage, and was the only attack with the potential to defeat him, the king had nothing to fear.
By the way, Vegeta, did I happen to mention that my fighting power in this form is over 1 million?
1 million?
Hey, how about we listen to a little bit of music?
Cause you know I'd walk 1,000 miles if I could just...
Unbelievable! Despite his wounds, he's beaten nearly half of my 100 men!
I'm the Tetsaga's rightful owner. Stand back as I demonstrate its true power. Witness this and learn from the master, Inuyasha. With one stroke, I shall slaughter 100 demons.
Well, it takes quite a lot for me to lose my temper too, you know. But after this mess, I've reached my boiling point. I'm Kakashi, the copy ninja. I know 1,000 jutsu.
I'm Eddie McDowd. I'm a dog and I talk. I used to be a kid, a bad kid, and then I messed with the wrong guy.
Eddie, you have failed as a human.
He turned me into a dog. Can you believe this? That freak turned me into a dog. To be a kid again, I have to do 100 good deeds, and
They say it's impregnable. Give me 10 good men and some climbing spikes. I'll impregnate the bitch.
20,000 men, is it?
Yes, Your Grace. A few died in transit.
They weren't good fighters, you won't miss them.
Horses.
2,000.
Give me your second sons, and I may not have you gelded. Sir Barristan, how many men fight for the second sons?
Under 2,000, Your Grace.
We have more, don't we?
10,000 unsullied.
Not for my wisdom, clearly.
You promised Catelyn you'd help me. The Queen has 12 knights and 100 men-at-arms. Enough to overwhelm what remains of my household guard. I need the gold cloaks. The City Watch is 2,000 strong.
I'm giving you half of our forces, 30,000 men. The future of our family will be determined in these next few months. We could establish a dynasty that will last 1,000 years.
We sent 1,000 of our shinobi, and I understand that it took just one of them, namely the Yellow Flash, to put a stop to the invasion.
Let's see how your training's coming. Show me all that you've learned.
You're going to be my opponent?
Course not. Very impressive. You stand there facing 1,000 opponents without batting an eye.
hundreds of our men in the dungeon training hall.
And how many of our men comprise these hordes?
As my liege requested, I unleashed 500 A-class demons.
Kieran, how long have you been my second in command?
It's been 250 glorious years.
I see. Then you should know by now that when I say 500 A-class demons, I mean 1,000.
Here's that 5 again. Alakazam has an IQ of 5,000.
Let's start from the roof, and then make our way down.
This building's radius is 100 meters. Think you can handle it, Dad?
You fool. I could do 300 meters easily.
Senbon Sakura. 1,000 blades, each too small for the eye to see.
Moment you've all been waiting for. Somebody will take home £1 million.
I am calling for a 40-day fast from Target. Beginning on March the 5th. 100,000 conscientious Christians. You don't have to be black, Latino, Asian, white. 100,000.
Let's go, little guy. Now, open up wide, Ganon!
100 years in the making. Hold on, princess. Our moment has arrived.
Okay, you definitely enjoy numbers if you made it this far. I appreciate it, and please stay tuned for part 2, where I go into more detail about numerology. Hopefully I can get 10,000 likes, but until then, I'll rat to you next time.